right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm excited to be here tonight to present to you the start of the budget process. We've done the CIP we did a couple of weeks ago. Tonight, we'll do our formal presentation of the proposed biennial budget for 2019 and 2020. This, of course, kicks off the process. We will have study sessions where we go deeper and more in depth into the budget proposals. Tonight, each and every one of you are going to get a budget book. We'll give them that. To, you want to go ahead and, y'all want to go ahead and pass it out, or they already have them up there?
We have it.
They already have them up there? Okay. So you guys have your budget book, so you can begin to go over that. And then we'll, again, dive into that in the study sessions that we have during July. And I have at the end of the presentation, we'll go over what those dates are. Before I get started, I want to just offer a little bit of thanks and appreciation to all the folks that were interested or involved in the budget, proposed budget throughout the last few weeks. They've worked very, very intently on that. That's all of our department directors, all of our senior management team, all of our departmental staff that worked on the budget, and then of course our budget staff. Many hours that bring you this work and the things that you'll go over during the month of July in the study session. So I really appreciate that from them. We decided to take a little bit of a different approach to the budget presentation this year. We've done kind of the same thing. I've been here, this is my 20th budget presentation, and we've done kind of the same thing for many years, so we decided to take a little bit different tact. And this year, as we thought about the budget process, we thought about and try to put ourselves in the position of our citizens, and we really think through what is it that makes Olathe a place where people want to come. You know, we have almost 138,000 people that live in Olathe now. Each and every year, thousands of people move to our community, and they move here for certain reasons and for certain things and for certain quality of life. And of course, in the years that I've been here, and even before, many of you have been here much even longer than I have, and the council really provides that leadership and that policy guidance that really dictates and continues to keep the ship going in the right direction in terms of continuing to provide the things that make people want to come here. As the mayor stated a few minutes ago in the strategic plan, you guys in the year 2000 started a strategic planning process for the first time ever in Olathe, and that's lasted us for over 18 years now. We're going to start that process again, looking forward to 2040, but it's that kind of leadership and that kind of forward thinking that I think has built the type of community that we have in Olathe that has made people want to come here. And so again, part of our efforts in support of the council is to continue to make that happen by addressing those needs and those things that make people want to be here. We continue to make those possible through the budget process. So we want to address some of those tonight and talk about them. First of all, I think let me see if I'm going to, there we go. I'll do this. You know, first of all, to talk about really that this budget reflects community priorities. You guys know very well how we do our process, and it is very much a strategic process. You know, it starts with Direction Finder every year, which addresses the priorities of the community, and then we feed those priorities back through the budget. And one of the things you'll see, and we talked about it last year, we'll continue to talk about it this year, we know that the priorities of this community, the two top priorities of this community are public safety and transportation. 70% of our funds then in the general fund are spent on public safety and transportation. So again, echoing the community, because obviously one of the things we first want to do is we want to listen. We want to hear what the public has to say. And so when we do Direction Finder, it is very important. 94% of the people that responded to our most recent annual citizen satisfaction survey are satisfied with the overall quality of service provided by the city. Just editorial comment, of all the communities that are done by ETC throughout the whole country, that was #1 in all cities over 100,000 population in the entire country.
Correction. That's not editorial, that's fact.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. That's a factual statement. So we're very, very, very proud of that. Very, very proud of the over 925 people, full-time folks that help make that happen each and every year. And then 88% of our overall citizens were satisfied with Olathe as a place to buy your next home. You know, and I don't remember the exact number. If Chris was here, he could tell me that. But I'm pretty sure that number was in the 60s. 20 years ago when we first started looking at those numbers, and so it's come up significantly, and part of that is the efforts that the council has made on just building the quality of life standard. So Olathe obviously is also very financially sound, and we want to continue that. So we have a AA+ bond rating from both Standard & Poor's and Fitch's, the highest ratings that you can get other than AAA, and we continue to position ourselves for that as well. And we do, as always, present a balanced budget which meets all the financial requirements that the council's given us. This year's budget, of course, we have a lot of different funds. Most of the things that you're going to see here in this presentation deal with the larger funds that we have: general fund, water, sewer, parks and recreation, the stormwater, those. And so those are the ones we'll talk about tonight, but we have a lot of other funds that we'll go into during the month of July when we're doing the presentation. Some of the big highlights of this budget that you're going to see: we are proposing a $250,000 decrease in the general fund. Our assessed valuations are very strong again this year, and so we felt like it was very important that we give some of that back to the taxpayers, so we're going to propose a $250,000 reduction in the mill levy in the general fund. Also, we've met all the council has about 8 debt service guidelines that you guys adopted about 5 years ago, and each year when we do a budget, and each biennial budget, we make sure that we meet all the obligations and all those policy guidelines that the council set out, and we meet those this year. And also targeted fund balance. We have a targeted fund balance of 30% of our general fund revenues, and we meet that target again with this budget. Some of the other highlights of this budget: in water and sewer, we're proposing a 3.5% increase in water in both years, in 19 and in 20, and a 4.9% increase in sewer in both 2019 and 2020. Our stormwater rate, we are not proposing any increase on the residential side. There will be some commercial increases in both, or in 2019, not in 2020, but on the residential side, no increases in stormwater, and the same thing in solid waste. And no rate increase in residential solid waste in either 2019 or 2020. There will be some commercial, as we, again, that's just market driven, and so some of those rates will go up in 2019. I'm going to get a thing of water real quick, because I'm looking at things. Just some highlights in the budget, as I said a few minutes ago, in the 2019, and it's pretty much the same thing for the 2020 budget. You'll see as we go through the detail and start going through it in July, 69% of our budget really going to public safety and transportation, those two main focus points of our citizens. All the other departments, most of which support those 3 issues, get 31%. Some of the highlights on the right-hand side: the general fund operating budget will have about a 5% increase each year, 5% in 2019, 5% in 2020 on these budgets. Our FTE count will go up a little bit each year, 14.5. We had 11 this year, 14.5 next year, and we're going to go over some of the detail in that and why that is. And then 9 proposed in 2020. But still, if you see our head count on a FTE per 1,000 basis is still almost a full FTE lower than it was per 1,000 in 2007, right before the recession. So again, we continue to be very lean and very efficient as an organization. Our staff does an outstanding job in the things that they do. So Olathe is safe. Again, we thought we'd use this one first because it is one of the 2 high priorities of our citizens. A couple of things. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about how Olathe is safe in several different categories. So the first one, we're going to talk about fire response. Our fire department continues to increase its call volume. We responded to almost 12,000 calls for service in 2017. It continues to go up. Community enhancement cases, one of the priorities that the council gave us in the retweet. Wow. That's the retreat, not the retweet. We had 5,400 community enhancement calls in 2017. So we're addressing those things. How are we going to address those things? Well, I'm going to start at the bottom on this one because it really drives the staffing issues. We have in the 5-year CIP, you'll be seeing a proposed addition of Station 8. Which we've added Station 8 in a house right now. We have a temporary location for it, but it is a permanent station, and so we'll be adding a new fire station out in that area of town. It'll be constructed and put in place in 2021. So that requires staffing. It requires us 12 firefighters to staff full-time 365 days a year, 24/7. So the way we're going to propose that we implement that is over time. Instead of 12 firefighters taking that financial impact in 1 year, we're going to propose that we do 4 firefighters in each of the next 3 years. 4 in 19, 4 in 20, which will be the biennial budget that you're seeing now, and then we'll see 4 again in 2021 when we do the next biennial budget for 21 and 22. We're also, again, in keeping with the council's priorities in the retreat and what we heard in the retreat, we're adding a community enhancement officer in the proposed budget for each year, 1 in 2019, 1 in 2020. And then one of the things that, again, just like the police chief, Chief Minky was speaking of, and training is very, very important in the fire department as well. Almost 50% of our firefighters now on staff have been here less than 5 years. So training is very, very important to us. And so one of the things that's been in our 5-year CIP and is scheduled to be built next year is our fire training center in the proposed budget. The next thing is we're safe because of police. We continue to increase the call volume in police. We responded to almost 45,000 calls in 2017. We housed almost 19,000 pieces of property that came up through investigations, through crimes that were committed where we have to hold evidence for court cases and things like that. So that continues to grow in volume too. So how are we approaching the issue of continued safety from a police perspective? Well, one of the things that we're going to propose in this budget is, if you'll recall, most of you, with the exception of Councilmember Brownlee, were here at the time the recession started. One of the ways that we addressed the recession was reducing our staffing levels in schools with school resource officers in the junior highs. We went from a school resource officer for each junior high and each high school. We reduced that to go to 1 per every 2 schools in the junior high schools. We still have 1 in each high school, but so we're proposing in this budget that we go back to 1 person, 1 school resource officer in each of the junior high schools. So in this budget proposal, we have 2 school resource officers coming on in 19, 3 school resource officers coming on in 20, and a new sergeant coming on, school resource officer sergeant, in 2019. As well. So that's just a staffing and a management issue for us with the sergeant. The other thing, and you'll remember this from last year when we presented the 2-year budget, we are beginning to see some degradation in our clearance rates, and the chief keeps an eye on that, a watchful eye on that, and very concerned that we not let that get ahead of us. So we are proposing 2 police detectives in 2019 and a police detective sergeant in 2019. That'll bring on 3 new detectives to address that issue. And then finally, in our 5-year CIP, and it's been in there for several years, would be phase 2 and of the police building expansion. Phase 1 was the new detective operation that's there along Harrison, right next to the court building. This would be a section that would give us a new entrance and a new face to the public for our police expansion, and that's also in our CIP. Another area where we address safety is in municipal court. I was talking to the judge a little bit a few minutes ago when we were doing the CIP, and she said business is up. So, they processed almost 21,000 tickets in 2017, and if that's up, we could hit as many as 21,000 or 22,000 tickets this year. Municipal court held 1,977 dockets, different dockets. So one of the things that we're seeing, we have a half-time person, a 20-hour staff person that helps us augment what we do in the court records or court clerk area, and we really have had issues retaining people in that. Not many people want to do that for 20 hours, so the judges proposed that we make that a full-time position, turn it from a 20-hour position to a 40-hour position. We believe we'll have a much better job recruiting and retaining people. We really we haven't had anybody in that position for over a year yet at this point in time. And then one of the other, this is kind of a new item, but we want to address safety concerns in our courtroom. We're the only courtroom in Johnson County right now that does not exclude firearms and weapons of any kind. So we have a proposal in the capital improvements budget to expand or bump out the front of that building a little bit so that we could put magnetometers in there, and then, of course, according to the state law, then we can exclude all weapons from entering into the courtyard or entering into the court building. So that's part of our proposal. Another area of safety is water and sewer. You don't really think about it, but it is incumbent on us to make sure that all the drinking water that's going into people's homes is safe, and the material that's leaving the homes is also able to be treated and put back into the creeks and lakes and rivers so that it can also be used downstream. So we treat over 2 billion gallons of wastewater at our treatment plants. And we collected and tested over 90,000 water samples. These are all federal guidelines, federal standards that we have to uphold. And that's done 24/7 at our plants. We are proposing that we add another lab technician. We have 2 lab technicians currently. That would be added in 2019. Our lab, we really don't have enough lab technicians currently to handle all the volume, so we actually have our chemists who are actually doing sampling, and that's not really cost effective for us, so we've proposed to add another lab technician. And then we have a myriad, you've been seeing it in the last few years in the CIP. We continue to do improvements, plant maintenance at water treatment plant 2, as I briefed the council on the CIP last week, and we had one-on-ones. I reminded everybody, it's hard to remember this sometime, but treatment plant 2 is 20 years old now, and so it's been here for a while, and things begin to wear out, and so we need to continue to replace those so we can have safe drinking water out there. So Olathe is also active. What are some of the things that we're doing to keep it active? 200, I love this slide, 242,000 member and day passes in the community center in 2017. And I remember back when we were building this community center, and there was a lot of trepidation about whether it would be used or how well it would be used. Well, the answer is overwhelming. People are very, very satisfied with the community center and the things that are going on at the community center. 22,000, almost 23,000 participants in other recreation programs that we have. So what are the things that we're doing to make that continue, to make Olathe continue to be an active place and a place where people can recreate and enjoy? So one of the first things is those top 3 items, which are all very, very important to us. You've seen each and every one of those before. We're working on them now. Lake Olathe and Cedar Lake. We're in construction at Lake Olathe, a $20 million investment that'll be completed in the latter part of 2019, in the fall of 2019, and we'll begin to enjoy that treasure in an even new way and broader ways than we have in the past. Lone Elm Park, doing some improvements down at Lone Elm Park, and that would also be constructed or scheduled to be completed in the latter part of 2020 or 2019 as well. And then Cedar Creek Streamway connects those two, Cedar Lake and Lake Olathe, and that'll be, I think, when that's completed, along with the Johnson County trails, there'll be 12 miles of trail on the west side of town as well, which will be a fantastic amenity for people staying active. 3 positions that we're asking for in 2019, all having to do with maintenance at Lake Olathe and Cedar Lake when it's finished. The first one, senior maintenance worker, will be in the Parks and Recreation Fund. The second 2 come on in October of 2019. Those are proposed for general funding, and all again, those will be working out at Cedar Lake and Lake Olathe. The other item that we're proposing, this is a new item. You guys are familiar with the fact that we capitalize our project maintenance staff in Public Works for all the activity and the projects that go on in Public Works. Well, we're going to take that same approach with maintenance of our landscaping. We do an awful lot of landscaping on our roadways and in our roadways, and we believe that we can do a better job of that, taking care of it ourselves, maintaining it ourselves, replanting it when it needs to be done, when things do die. So we're going to propose that we try that, and the cost will be capitalized, just like if we were to pay an outside landscaper to do it as well. So that's one of the new things in our budget this year.
This is maintenance and not installation?
It's both installation and maintenance. So we would install them. When a road project's done, instead of paying an outside firm to do it, we'll install it, but then we're going to maintain it. We're going to take care of them, through the maintenance period. So.
Okay, but after the maintenance period, it'll be just...
After the maintenance period, our other staff takes care.
That'll be out of recurring revenue, not capitalization.
Correct. Yeah, that won't be capitalized, right? Correct. Good clarification. Sorry. Another thing, another way we're active is with our kids, right? So one of the proposals that we have in cooperation with the school district, and I forgot, I'm sorry, let me back up one thing. I know you guys know this, but just for everybody else, SROs, half funded by the school district, so that's an important thing just a point to make that I missed a few minutes ago. This is a program that was brought to us by the school district, very interested in a couple of schools, us trying an after-school program. This would be completely fee-driven, no general fund dollars associated with this, so people would pay for this program to have their kids involved in a before and after-school program. So what we've anticipated, we'll try it in 19. If it works and there's enough volume and enough need, we'll put another one in 2020 and see how that program continues with the school district, because we partner with them on this. Olathe is also moving. Obviously, this is one of the other big priorities that we have. We operate 131 traffic signals and 11,000 street lights. We maintain 1,300 miles of street lanes and 4,000 intersections, 18 roundabouts. So what are we doing to make sure that continues to be effective? Well, and most of these are CIP projects. We have 8 major transportation programs. If you remember, street preservation, street maintenance, sidewalks, ADA sidewalks, curb and gutter, all those things involved 8 programs that we have each year that we fund. We have 18 major street improvement projects that are proposed in the CIP this year. We have, for the first time in a while, we have 3 capacity projects in the CIP. That would be Lone Elm, the 4-laning of Lone Elm between 056 and 151st, Woodland Road between College and K10, and then Flum between 143rd and 151st, which are all very, very big projects, taking those to 4 lanes in very key areas of the city. We do have 6 benefit districts proposed. One of these is a residential, which does meet the policy guidelines of the council with homes over $450,000. One of them is 2 of them are sewer benefit districts, and the other 3 are commercial benefit districts. Then we have 10 stormwater projects as we continue our maintenance of our stormwater infrastructure. And then a new proposal in this budget is for a senior planner for our downtown master plan. You'll remember a couple of months ago, we presented and the council approved our downtown master plan. Councilmember Vogt that night commented, rightly so, that we were gonna need to make sure that we have somebody that's writing herd over and writing point on the downtown master plan and make sure that we continue to implement that plan over the next few years. So we do have a proposal in there to add a senior planner in 2020 for the downtown. Olathe ultimately is community. So what are we going to do? The Olathe Public Library circulated 1.5 million materials to 72,000 cardholders. So what are we doing and making Olathe continue to be community? Well, you know, one of the big things that we've got, we're excited about it. It's going to open up in September of 2019. That's the Indian Creek Library. You guys have approved the design. We approved the first contract a couple of weeks ago. We're excited about this project. Well, obviously, we are going to have some new staffing. We are proposing 3 new staff positions in the public library for that. A person to do maintenance, a person to do technology, and a person to do services. And so we believe those are very important to just continue to maintain the service levels. As I told you guys when we did the one-on-ones, it's a little bit mind-boggling to think about the fact that in this one building, when we're finished and opened up in September of 2019, we will have replaced in one building the total square footage of both libraries that we had prior to this. So this is a huge, huge step forward for us in terms of the council's vision of a 21st century library, and we're very, very excited about it. Olathe is community in another way. We maintain 1 million square feet of buildings, shelters, and storage. We maintain 128 miles of corrugated metal pipe in our stormwater system. So how are we going to address those needs? Well, number one, we have not added any. We own over 30 buildings in the city. We own, the taxpayers own, and we haven't added any maintenance staff. We have 5 maintenance staff, and we haven't added any in 15 years. And so we really think it's important that we add a couple of maintenance staff. We're to the point right now where we're paying outside firms to come in and do routine things, and that doesn't make sense to us financially. So some of this is a financial trade-off, and some of those services we won't be paying others to do it. We'll do it ourselves, but we're proposing facilities maintenance tech in both 19 and 20, and then a stormwater maintenance worker, which would work on the stormwater infrastructure in 2020. So the budget calendar. Tonight, again, was our CIP open house. Thanks. We had each and every one of you guys come to the CIP open house. It was something new we tried. Thanks for coming. We really appreciate that. I'm doing the presentation after I get finished. Tim's going to come up. Tim McKee, President CEO of the Chamber, is going to come up and do the Chamber budget presentation. Everybody, I think, probably knows July 4th is on Wednesday. So we moved all of our council meetings in July back one week. So we'll meet on July the 10th. We'll do our first budget workshop in this room after the council agenda. So we'll do water, sewer, stormwater, and solid waste. And then on the 17th, we move out to the community center. We do the departmental parade. All the departments come in, talk about the general fund, we talk about the library. On the 24th, we're back in here. At the end of the meeting, we do Parks and Rec, facilities maintenance funds, and then all our other minor funds. And then on the 31st of July, we have it tentatively scheduled. That'll be dependent on the council, and if the council has further questions or wants to do additional work, we can meet on the 31st back out at the community center. On the 7th of August, we have our official public hearing, and then we would adopt the budget on the 21st. And again, 2-year budget, so you'd adopt the 2019 budget, tentatively approve the 2020 budget. And you can follow our budget process on any of these, Olathe Connect, Twitter, Facebook, on our website, or email us at budget@olatheks.org. We love to hear input from the public on our budget proposal, and that helps make us better, and so we appreciate that. And I would stand for questions. 6 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkes. Yeah, good job. On time, under budget. Any questions for the manager at this point? We know this is the launch of the proposed budget, and we'll have more opportunities to comment as we dig into the details, but thank you very much. It was a terrific overview of what discussions are to come.
Thank you, sir.
Very good.